How do you get clients or your boss to realize the value of PR? You are listening to the publicrelationspodcast.com. It's a common question, isn't it? And it kind of implies that there's some sort of magical words that you can say that will change all difficult people into supporters of PR and what you're doing. Now, there are certainly things you can say and data you can share, but getting a client or boss on board with PR is actually a bit more nuanced than that. There's a few more aspects to it, and I'm going to be exploring this topic more on the Public Relations Podcast. And I'm also asking everyone that I chat to what they think is the answer as well. I'm going to have a look at 2 points of view today, but as you know with this show, it is about a conversation amongst PR people who listen to this show. So there is no one way of doing PR, and in the same respect, no one way of convincing people about the value of PR. So let me know, what do you think of what you hear in today's episode? Or even better, come on the show, join this conversation. All the details on appearing on this show are on the publicrelationspodcast.com, thepublicrelationspodcast.com, and it's pretty obvious. You'll be able to work it out. You just click on the link at the top that says guest, and it has all the details there. So let's start with Kaylee Hamilton, who owns Kaylee Media. She's absolutely marvelous. She shared so much stuff with me when I chatted with her last week, and she was happy for it to be recorded as well. So that's going to be coming out over the next couple of weeks. But Kaylee thinks that getting a client on board actually starts with them. From the moment you first talk to a potential client, or if you're going into a company to work in their PR team or representing them, it's done by interviewing that potential boss before you even sign on the dotted line. So let me play this 3-minute clip from the chat I had with Kaylee last week. And then after that, I'm also going to recap some points made by another PR who appeared on the show recently as well. So let's start with Kaylee from Kaylee Media.
It's so different with every person too. And something that I'm learning building my business is I want to be very intentional with the clients that I take on initially. People's mindset is first and foremost my most important kind of thing when it comes to clients that I take on. Like, they need to trust me, which obviously I have to show them that they're able to trust me, but they really have to trust the work that me and my team do. And they have to be excited, have kind of an open growth mindset, and also be open to opportunities that come in, because it's really difficult when you work with somebody who is just questions everything, says no to opportunities. And no matter what, like, I go into it the same with every client, just upfront, couldn't be more clear communication, written, spoken, signed in the agreement. These are the expectations. This is how it works. And sometimes, usually that is fine, but sometimes there's the odd client that's, I don't know, it just like goes over their head.
Yeah.
And they come back and they're just very difficult. And it just is what it is. I think it honestly comes down to a person's personality and their mindset surrounding the whole PR thing. So when onboarding or when even doing connection calls with clients, obviously being super clear with communicating how it works, what the expectation can be, and then also getting that energy back from them and me deciding and feeling out, okay, do they get it? Are they going to trust me? Is it going to work out? Is this like aligned? It really needs to be aligned, because when I've gone into working with clients in the past where I was a little iffy, those have been the ones who have been the most difficult. And it's really just not worth it for my own mental health and then the success of their PR campaign.
I can see it in your eyes, because well, tell me if I'm wrong here, but I can imagine that you actually, when you first chat with them, yes, you're looking at them as a client, but you're actually looking at them as, would I interview them?
Yes, exactly. That's a good way to put it. Yes, it's like you do have to look at them through the lens of a journalist, because also, if they don't have something interesting, newsworthy, just something about them that I know we could get press from, that is me looking at them through the lens of a journalist. Because if they don't have that, then I don't want to give them these high hopes and expectations or even offer to work with them if me, the journalist, thinks, oh, shoot, I don't think there's anything here.
It's just going nowhere.
So that was Kaylee from Kaylee Media. She was absolutely marvelous. She wanted to share so much when I chatted, and she was happy for so much of it to be recorded that I'm going to be playing that over the coming weeks. But let's continue with this theme of getting people on board with PR. Now, as you know, last week, Funmi Lijadu was on the show, and she's a PR and journalist in the United Kingdom. And she said a couple of points about this aspect. So let me run through them. She said, first of all, is that the reality is we all know clients and bosses who just don't get it. Yep. Certainly do. It's a PR's job to try and educate them first, but as Funmi said, the process can indeed often seem more like a negotiation than an education, and it's one that you're simply not always going to win. Some people are just not going to be able to visualize it or understand the value of PR. And the reality also, she said, is that it is hard to pitch a story that no journalist wants to run, just like Kaylee was saying a few seconds ago. Unless you're going to pay for an advertorial, journalists are not going to run what they can't use. This was her talking from her journalist head as she's writing articles. And trying to push a story or tricking journalists or putting pressure on them to use a story will backfire, not on the client, who's going to be delighted you got it in, but on you and your relationship with them. So in terms of your long-term business prospects and your career, it's bad for you. It's better to not even be pushing this client. As Funmi said, you can try and massage the piece, change the context, make it more punchy and emphasize what journalists need, but there's still only so much you can do. It's why, as Kaylee said, it's one of the reasons why you want to interview clients or choose the right boss in the job or the company that you're representing to make sure that you are going to be able to succeed. I think we all know this, but the reality is some people are never going to get the value of PR. And in this modern world where PR matters, it's worth working with the companies who are going to succeed, who get the way that the world has changed, because otherwise you could be stuck in something that as a company is going to be going nowhere. If you don't do that, and if you start working with the wrong people, then it's just going to be a tense working environment, it's going to be hard work, and you're not going to be able to get the results from them that they are expecting. You sometimes have to accept the fact that your boss or client is not going to be the one to work with. But what if they're on the edge? What if you think you can tip them over and you're not being delusional to yourself? What if you really think you can actually get them over the line? Well, more on this over the coming weeks. So I'm going to be sharing more ideas. And also, as I say, I've been asking every person I've spoken to recently what they do in terms of convincing people about the value of PR. So I'll be sharing those also as well. Kaylee and Funmi were amazing. If you are in PR, whether it's called that or not, whether you're working in a comms role or whatever it's called in your company, if you're building relationships with the public, join the conversation on the show and come on and let's get chatting. I want to hear what you think about these things. You'll find details on the guest page on the website at thepublicrelationspodcast.com. There's more coming up later in the week, and then next week, the fact that you're still listening to this in the last few seconds of the show, I know you're a dedicated listener to this. I've got a bit of an announcement to make about the future of this show, so I will be sharing that with you next week. In the meantime, I hope you're having an awesome week, and I'll speak to you soon.